Okay, we're finishing up skinning one side. We still have our rubber gloves on, and we're getting ready to bone out this side of our animal. First, we laid out our plastic bag to keep everything clean. There. Now we're ready to go. We're going to start with the rear quarter. With your sharp knife, simply follow the line of tissue that lies between this group of muscles. It appears as a line of fat, but most of it is sinew, a tough silvery material. Our instructor simply lets this silvery line guide his knife. The good thing about boning out your animal is that you really can't do it incorrectly. Your first time, you might leave a little meat on the bone or not make the cuts perfectly, but don't sweat it. Try to get as much meat as you can, but if you leave a little bit, the coyotes or other scavengers will be happy to take the free meal. Okay, lift the leg and brace it along the side of your torso as he did here. Sometimes you have to do a little cleanup of any excess skin or tissue that can get in the way. But always remember to leave proof of sex, which we'll be illustrating later. Work from the underside, cutting along the bone from the pelvic area. There are 3 different muscle groups in this section. By following the natural line in the muscles, you'll be able to cut the meat into prime steaks when you're ready to do so. Keep cutting away until you can pull all 3 muscle groups off together. You can also take them off separately if it's easier for you to do so. There are many ways to bone out an animal. All of them are effective, but this is the best way to preserve the prime cuts in the meat. Taking all 3 muscle groups off at once limits the amount of mistakes you can make with your knife. The cuts are less and the mistakes are less. In the end, this will allow you to get more prime cuts out of your deer or elk. It's that simple. There, red, lean meat from the area known as the round. The round makes good roasts or steaks. Take the cuts and put them aside onto your clean surface. Keep the meat out of the dirt and leaves by setting it on a clean plastic bag or tarp. Next, cut the meat away from the bone on the lower leg area just below the knee joint. This is referred to as the shank. The shank makes good hamburger or stew meat. Again, simply follow the natural line along the bone. Back to our hunter. Notice he doesn't leave any of the tendon attached to the meat. Tendon can cause some serious problems in the grinder. There, some good meat for hamburger. Finally, move to the rump area above the round and cut the section just below the backbone. This is the sirloin area on beef and makes for good steaks or roasts. Brace the animal with your knee to get more leverage. You need to cut down to the bone to get all the prime meat in this area. It's a pretty thick cut of meat. Just keep cutting away along the bone until all the meat is separated. There, a good piece of red, lean meat that can be used for steaks or roasts. If you're not taking the meat or game directly home or to your processor and you're going back to camp, you can also take the back quarter off at the joint by simply severing the tendons that keep the joint together. You're not cutting through the bone, so this is an acceptable procedure. Again, wear latex or rubber gloves. If it's cold, then wear your latex or rubber gloves under or over an old pair of knit gloves that are disposable. Whatever works. Simply locate the joint on the inside of the back leg and cut the tendons to separate the leg at the joint, as our hunter is doing here. Let's get a little closer. That's all there is to it. You can then cool the quarter back in camp and separate the meat from the bone on the tailgate of your truck. It's amazing how easy the meat comes off the bone when it's been cooled. This is an easier process, and you're still not having to remove the bones from the field, which, again, is the recommendation in a CWD designated area. Regardless what method you use in removing the meat from the rear quarter, you must always be capable of showing proof of sex by keeping evidence attached as you see here. Always refer to the corresponding state regulations for specifics on proof of sex in the area you'll be hunting.